So today we're talking about stretching and flexibility. Most people don't believe they're that flexible and they don't know that they actually can be. So I want to talk through how do we do that. The biggest thing is if you can remember one thing about time, it's 9 minutes a week. That's if you want to actually improve flexibility, it's 9 minutes a week. If you just stretch, but you're getting less than that, you're not actually going to improve flexibility very much in muscles and tendons. So if you're trying to get more flexible, consistently 9 minutes a week is what you want to do. So I'll show you a stretching routine. Initially, if you start doing this once a week, 3 times a week, you'll start improving flexibility. And then when you get to a good place, you can do it once a week to maintain, or you can do more if you wanted to. I mean, really, if you're trying to do it every day, just get in a routine of doing it every day for a couple of weeks, that's when you're really going to see your flexibility increase and get to the point where you actually feel flexible and you enjoy it. Some of the best benefits are that you're going to have more range of motion, you're going to be more athletic, you're going to be less likely to be injured, you're going to have much better circulation, and you're just going to feel better overall when you're more flexible. So I want to show you some of the best stretches that I've found that make a big difference, and then how I do them, and then you can use that, and then you can add, subtract what stretches you're doing. You can target other parts of your body. You take the same principles and then you add that into what you're doing. So the first thing that I'll do is I usually do this at night. Sunday night is my night when I stretch it most every Sunday. But if I want to do more, it might be just every night at the end of the day, I will stretch. That's how I got started when I was really tight and when I was not that flexible. Then I'll just take my phone and I'll just take the timer on my phone and I just hit start and I go for a minute at a time. So every stretch I'm doing is for 1 minute. Once I get to minute number 1, I switch to the next thing and then back, and I go back and forth. And normally I'll just pair 2 stretches together that offset each other, and I'll just go 1 minute, and do that for 6 minutes. So I get 3 minutes of each and go from there. So the place that I normally start is right here, where I'm trying to stretch my adductors in between my legs. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to go into the splits about as much as I can, and then I'm leaning forward. Initially, I would be really tight where I could barely touch my hands on the ground. And then by the minute 2 or minute 3, I could get further down where I could get my hands down. So I go 1 minute here. When the minute is up, I got my phone going. Then I'll switch into the next exercise, the next stretch. And then what I'll do is I'll just sit back on my knees. And what I'm doing is stretching my quads and opening up my knees. My toes are pointed down. So I'm also stretching the top of my feet as well. So I'll sit back here. You might find that you're not that flexible. So you start here and then you're slowly getting a little bit further down to where you actually can sit on your feet or even lean back just a little bit to stretch more of your quads here. Okay. So I go a minute back and forth and I do each. When I'm done with those, I go into my next set of stretches. The next things that we do is right here is the downward dog. So we're coming up like this and we're just down here. This is a hard place for most people to get with their hands flat. So you might want something like a yoga block to use, or you could start like on a step or on a couch. You could start here to use something as a support, and then you slowly get further where you can do a little bit more and then get your hands flat. So I'll do that one. So I do 6 minutes in the first 2 stretches. Then I switch to that one where I'm doing the downward dog. And then to offset that, what I'm doing is I go 1 minute here, next minute, I'm on my tummy. I'm either pushing up on my hands or I'm just on my elbows here, stretching my low back the opposite direction. So 1 minute each and then rotate. So 6 minutes total. Then we go into our next set of stretches. So now we're 12 minutes in. Our next set of stretches is I usually will take a couch and I'll put my foot up on the couch like this. And I'm stretching my hamstring right here, but also my hip flexor here. So I'm just kind of leaning in and you'll feel it where it pulls here. We're leaning in, so I feel it here. So I try to keep my knees straight. So I go 1 minute here, sitting up straight, chest back. 1 minute here, stretching both. Then I rotate to the other side, other leg. Now I'm stretching this hamstring and this hip flexor on the other side. Go back and forth and do a minute. So like I said, I'm trying to do 3 minutes of each muscle group and then rotate. And usually, like when you're trying to get flexible, 3 nights a week of 3 minutes, and you're getting to your 9 minute mark. You could do 30 seconds. So you do 6 nights a week of 30 seconds 3 times, and you're getting more flexible. At the end, I want to end with a deep squat. So I like making sure that I have a full range of motion squatting. That's something that I never really had the ability to do. So what I'll do is you try to squat down, but I'm trying to have my heels down. I want my heels down. I don't want my heels coming up like this. And so I'm getting into a deep squat and I'm just seeing, can I sit low and just keep my heel on the ground and do that for 1 to 2 minutes to end with that deep squat and have my butt all the way down. Some people can get quite a bit further. For me, this is a huge progress. It took me a while to get to that point. So get in the routine for sure, 1 day a week, just to keep range of motion and flexibility. And you find out real fast, depending on what your workouts have been or have been lacking, if you're losing flexibility. Once you feel like you're losing something, then you might lean in and do a little bit more, or you might be doing extra in a certain area because of an injury. But that way, you won't lose flexibility and you won't age faster. That's a big issue. Once things start getting tight and rigid, it's going to age you significantly faster. So it's a great routine to have as part of your week. So just try to figure out what works for you and start somewhere. The best thing to do is just every night, 20, 30 minutes of stretching in front of the TV. You're watching something, you're listening to something, just do it when you're relaxing and just get in the habit of it. And pretty soon it starts to feel good. Most people, they don't love it until they're about 2 weeks in. They've been doing it for about 2 weeks and they start to feel like, hey, this isn't so bad. Oh, this actually feels pretty good. When you're doing a minute total of stretching, you have to learn to breathe. So you have to learn you can't just hold your breath the whole time and expect it to go well. So now you're in a stretch and you have to learn to calm your mind, calm your breathing, relax, and calm down. And you'll feel where you just are starting to stretch out and get a little bit further when you're breathing calmly, which is a good thing just as far as just learning to control your breathing anyways and your heart rate. But that's where you start. So start there. If you have questions, if there's an area you want to target, ask me or look it up. Just start looking things up online and see what works. But ask me and I'll let you know or help where I can. All right. It's totally worth doing. So just make it a part of your routine and you will definitely be glad you did. Thanks.